Good afternoon and welcome to Lariat TV News Today. I'm Braden Thomerson.
And I'm Brenshavia Jordan. Thanks for joining us. A current Baylor student from Wuhan, China is speaking out, sharing their emotions about being away from their family during this worldwide epidemic. LTVN's Grace Smith reached out to her and also has an update on the deadly coronavirus.
The CDC released negative results for the Baylor student who was tested for the coronavirus. A press release sent out by the university stated that all sponsored travel to China, Hong Kong, and Macau is temporarily postponed until further notice. We got the perspective of one Baylor student from Wuhan, China. However, they asked to keep their identity anonymous. I'm very worried about my family. Being here at Baylor while all of this is happening in my hometown is rough. I am worried about how people see me because many of them know I am from Wuhan. My friends and classmates are very supportive, but I also feel a bit of disconnection from home and everything that's happening. As of now, there are more than 9,000 cases of the coronavirus worldwide. The virus has taken more than 200 lives, but the Waco community can rest assured.
One thing is important is that we have no novel coronavirus in the state of Texas, and we have none on Baylor campus. If you are sick, it's important, if you need to see a doctor, go see a doctor, go to the Baylor Health Center. But in terms of novel coronavirus, since we have no cases, the risk is eliminated.
For Lariat TV News, I'm Grace Smith.
Renovations at the Waco Suspension Bridge still haven't started, giving Baylor students more time to engage in one of their favorite pastimes there. LTVN's Sarah Gill tells us more about how you can still have fun, but it might cost you more than you think.
The Suspension Bridge restoration project is currently on hold and won't close for at least a few more months. But you might want to consider putting tortilla tossing on hold as well.
Per our local laws and ordinances, even tortilla tossing is technically littering.
According to Ordinance 1694, littering fines can cost you up to $208, even if it's tossing a tortilla in the brazos or tying a plastic bag to the bridge.
Per the ordinance, it's not actually allowed. And so that's not a guarantee that anybody's going to get a ticket, but they very well could.
It's litter, an unsightly view, and also poses a safety risk for the city workers who have to climb great heights to remove the bags.
Maybe it's not as challenging when you're in your early 20s, but, we've got guys out there that are in their 40s and 50s.
It's also a safety risk for the wildlife.
This time of year, animals can succumb to the elements if their diet has been based on a lot of supplemental tortillas or whatever.
As far as the future of the bridge, the plans to replace the 100-year-old cables and wooden deck are still underway.
We have $5.4 million available for this project. Based on our projections from 2017-ish, that should have more than done what we needed to accomplish.
Now projected costs have more than doubled to exceed $12 million.
It makes us wonder more seriously is that a reflection of the construction climate here in Waco right now?
Mid to late April is the earliest the bridge will close. More information will come after the council meeting in March. Until then, choose your activities at the Suspension Bridge wisely. For Lariat TV News, I'm Sarah Gill.
Walking to your car only to find out it's already been opened and items are missing is a terrible feeling. The campus crime and fire log has multiple reports of car break-ins all on the same date and in the same neighborhood, the 2000 block of 5th and 10th Street. Most often, car break-ins are preventable. Sergeant Patrick Swanton with the Waco Police Department told us some precautions to take so you can avoid getting your car broken into. They're simple but important reminders to not take for granted. Be sure to lock your car, take out all valuables, and park in well-lit areas.
President Donald Trump's defense team and prosecutors may wrap up their impeachment trial Friday in the Senate. A critical vote is expected to determine whether witnesses will be called forward. If a majority of the Senate follows party lines and votes yes on hearing witnesses, President Trump's lawyers will be allowed to propose and argue for specific witnesses or documents. That seems unlikely to happen because of the Republican majority in the Senate. Here's what Baylor students know and how they feel about the impeachment process thus far.
Honestly, I'm not really sure what's going on as much anymore.
I do think this impeachment process is important, but I do feel like it's going to be a waste of time because all the voting, for the most part, is going to stay with their parties, and I don't really feel like a whole lot's going to get done.
In the end, it almost becomes non-productive. Like, our government could be doing so many other things during the time that they're just debating this impeachment.
I don't know, the impeachment process, it seems pretty long, pretty tedious, but I don't know, I hope they make a decision that's right for everybody.
I wish we had a better means of
listening to other people's opinions and like trying to work things out instead of necessarily getting rid of people.
College students are encouraged to leave a lasting legacy wherever life takes them, but few ever dream of being inducted into their alma mater's Hall of Fame. As for Baylor's president, well, she's done just that. LTVN's Igor Stepchinsky discovered the humble beginnings of one very reputable legacy.
Our very own President Dr. Linda Livingstone is one of 4 to be inducted into Oklahoma State University's Hall of Fame, the highest honor given to alumni by that university.
It's a wonderful honor, and I was just certainly quite humbled by Oklahoma State for choosing to recognize me.
President Livingstone is no stranger to being honored for her dedication. From OSU to George Washington University to Pepperdine and now Baylor, her college education has helped her go far in leading the best and brightest towards their own light.
So it was a natural fit to go down that management track, and then after becoming a faculty member, really loved the administrative side of things. So it was kind of a natural pathway that, looking back, I can kind of see how I went the way I did.
Her calling was molded when playing basketball for the OSU Cowgirls. Little did she know she would be president at the top basketball school in the nation.
Yeah, you know, I think being on an athletic team like that, particularly at the college level, is a little bit of a laboratory for thinking about how organizations work well and how to help people to be successful. So sort of being in an intense team environment like that certainly helps you understand what works and what doesn't work.
Yet amid that competitive court full of victories, she also found her own teammate for a lifetime, her husband, Brad Livingstone.
Brad and I, we would actually play the shooting game horse with each other between practices, and I beat him every single time we played. And you can ask him and he will confirm that.
Hand in hand as the presidential couple, both are impressed and excited for what Baylor has become and will become in the legacy of the future.
At the end of the day, I think the greatest legacy is the people that were a part of what you did, and students of an institution are the greatest legacy that an institution can have. And our students are wonderful, and I hope that we produce many, many more wonderful students to go out and have an impact in the world.
For Lariat TV News, I'm Igor Stepchinsky.
Happy birthday, Baylor. Saturday marks 175 years since the President of the Republic of Texas, Anson Jones, put pen to paper and Baylor was born. This year-long celebration kicks off at this Saturday's home basketball game against TCU, along with an exhibit at the Mayborn Museum complex. A special Dr. Pepper Hour will also take place on February 18th, followed by an Honoring the Gold and Bold ceremony. With more commemorative events to come, special commemorative banners will be displayed across campus throughout the semester.
Coming up next, you'll hear the tragic story of Sean Helms, a Baylor student who lost his battle with cancer in the foundation created in his honor.
We'll also take you inside the bear habitat, where a lady is currently recovering from an extensive procedure. Stay tuned.
The best and brightest are drawn to Baylor, where those from many backgrounds with many talents shine together before casting their light outward to illuminate the world. Through transformational learning opportunities that are grounded in Christian faith and service, and research that impacts lives and communities. Baylor University, a place where lights shine bright.
Baylor student Sean Helms Jr. lost his battle to stage 4 melanoma cancer last summer. LTVN's Brenshavia Jordan talked to his sister Noelle, and here's how this family tragedy turned to hope.
This is Sean Helms Jr. He was a student with a love for sports in Baylor that changed in an instant when back pain led to a life-changing diagnosis.
He said the amount of pain he was enduring was more than humans can usually take. They drained his lung as best they could, and they sent it off to be tested for all kinds of cancer this time. And we waited and waited and waited, and about a week later, we found out it was melanoma.
Melanoma is a skin cancer that develops when melanocytes start to grow out of control. And Sean was already at stage 4.
His medicine and stuff was mostly for his pain, but they had to put tubes in his body to constantly drain his lung so it wouldn't keep filling up. And so, yeah, he just was pretty much in the hospital.
With the deadly report, Sean still had a message for the ones around him.
He sat down and talked to my dad, actually, and was like, I know that the outcome of my sickness is going to be for the greater good of God's kingdom, even if that means that I am no longer here anymore.
Those words were true as his family started the nonprofit Helms Hope Foundation as a way to keep Sean's story alive and educate on early detection.
It is a preventable cancer if you catch it early enough, but once caught too late, it's really deadly.
Since Sean's passing, his intramural flag football team, Toon Squad, played and won a championship in his honor.
I think he would want people to know that, like, we're not here to serve each other and whatever, and, like, that's so, so great, but, like, that no matter what your situation is, that the Lord is so good, and he does know evil, and so life is really hard, and, like, there's a bunch of stuff going on just to praise him because everything he does is for the good of his kingdom.
For Lariat TV News, I'm Brenda Shavia Jordan.
A life-threatening mass in Lady the Bear's chest was successfully treated last semester, and the long road to recovery has begun. With Lady's 18th birthday taking place Friday, I spoke with one of the Habitat's caregivers for an update on her health. The Bill and Eva Williams Habitat is where Baylor Bear mascots Lady and Joy spend time entertaining each other and more than 250,000 visitors each year. During a routine checkup in December, Lady received a diagnosis that would briefly separate her from Sister Joy and the community that loved her.
We found this mass in Lady's chest, and it gave us some pause, and we wanted to look into it more. So we're really lucky that we found it at a routine visit. If we weren't doing those sorts of things, it would keep growing and then cause her trouble long term. But since we caught it, the important thing to note here is that it's asymptomatic, so the mass is at a size where it doesn't cause her any pain or doesn't show any symptoms. So there would have been no way to tell that she had the mass in her chest unless we were able to take her to get a CT scan.
Lady received tomotherapy treatments from Texas A&M Veterinary Medical Teaching Hospital. Lady has been administered all treatments for now and will return for a follow-up CT scan in the next few months.
Now she's totally back on her regular diet, so eating back to raw meat and vegetables and fruit like she has been, and her energy is back up to normal. So we're really, really pleased with that.
Lady and Joy are cared for every day of the year by 12 students of the Chamber of Commerce, incorporating enrichment, nutrition plans, training, and the upkeep of the habitat.
They're sisters, only a year apart, so for nearly their whole life they've been together, which is pretty special to them.
And January is a special month for Baylor as they celebrate their 175th birthday, and Lady and Joy as they celebrate their 18th and 19th birthday as well.
They get loved and cared on by the Baylor family. They get to educate thousands of people each year about how to care for black bears around the country well and how we can better have a strong relationship with our environment to sustain that.
Waco is bringing you many of the city's best food options under one roof. Union Hall just opened downtown with more than a dozen local favorites just steps away from one another. LTVN's Grace Smith explores the town's newest dining attraction.
Tired of eating the same food every single day? Well, Union Hall is just the place for you. Filled with over a dozen different restaurants, come and check it out. On the corner of 8th and Franklin Avenue, Union Hall just opened and brought all things food to the Waco community. From tacos to crazy waffles and milkshakes, Union Hall has it all.
We're a pressed waffle company. We deal in authentic Belgian Liège-style waffle. It's an important distinction because this waffle is dough, not batter. So it's a lot denser. It's like a brioche-style dough, nice and buttery, nice and built up and dense. And then we have Belgian pearl sugar inside, and that caramelizes the outside into a nice sweet crunch. So they're denser and crunchier than your average waffle, but they have a lot of rich buttery and sweet flavor that you might not traditionally get.
In Waco, we see a lot of food trucks around. However, this kind of brings that same feel to the indoors. As you look around, there are tables everywhere where with long benches to where you can sit down with a large group as you would outside, but you can do it all year long, and it's all centralized, and it builds a greater community.
We specialize in making the best shakes around, and they are pretty extravagant and bizarre and fun, and this business is really growing.
It's funny how people compare it to a food court, but it's totally different, right? The food's upscale, quality, local. I think it's going to be great for the locals and the tourists.
Every day, doors open at 7 a.m. and close at 10 p.m. You can find just about every type of food here, so come down to Franklin Avenue to get everyone's appetite filled. For Lariat TV News, I'm Grace Smith.
Dedicated to empowering the creative spirit, the upcoming inaugural Waco Family and Faith International Film Festival will showcase over 70 films throughout the community. Beginning on February 6th, the three-day event will take place at multiple locations, including the Hippodrome, local churches, and on campus at Baylor. In addition to films, the festival will feature professional workshops and performances by community artists. The team at the Waco Family and Film Festival is united by a passion for film and hopes to empower, celebrate, and serve all people throughout the power of art.
A Baylor professor, Maverick Moore, has compiled 3 major short films, and his latest involves comedy, love, and even murder. I sat down with Moore and his co-producer to go behind the scenes. My Dinner with Werner is a short film written, directed, and edited by Baylor film professor Maverick Moore. LTVN sat down with Moore and co-producer Ryan McNamara to hear about the film they've crafted.
My Dinner with Werner is a narrative short film. It's a comedy about Werner Herzog on a blind date.
A crazy German filmmaking duo, director and actor pair, basically trying to kill each other in the context of a blind dinner date gone horribly wrong.
Inspired by the events that occurred during the 15-year partnership between Herzog and Kinski, Moore wanted to create a film depicting the event that led to the end of that partnership.
They'd made 5 films together. They'd worked together for over 15 years. And while their relationship was turbulent in some, can point as to why they stopped working together, there wasn't an actual event. So My Dinner with Werner is sort of a fictional story of what that event was that led them to sort of separate and stop working together.
One of my favorite things about the film is that it has a little bit of everything for everyone. And something that we set out early on in the writing process was how can we make something that everyone can enjoy? A little bit of drama, some comedy, some darker elements. There's a fight scene.
So we had to find people that could embody Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski. There's all kinds of crazy stuff in the film, and I think people, they worked hard on it, but they had a really good time, and I think that's what I cherish the most.
As for students who want to make a go of the film world, Moore's advice is to make films. For Lariat TV News, I'm Braden Thomerson.
Baylor's sustainability program recently received the Texan by Nature certification for keeping our campus green. Founded in 2011 by former First Lady Laura Bush, the award recognizes Texas organizations that have demonstrated significant conservation efforts. Since 2015, Baylor's 5-year conservation plan has reflected success in all of its aspirations. Smith Getterman, Director of Sustainability at Baylor, was thrilled to receive an award that recognized the program's efforts to be good stewards of natural resources in the community. Up next, we'll update you on 3 Baylor teams ranked number 1.
You'll also get a preview of Baylor's newly completed football staff.
Sports with Nate is right after the break.
At Baylor, our lights shine
while we push our limits
and guide the way.
At Baylor, our lights shine as we're making connections
and making an impression.
As leaders.
And as part of something bigger.
Baylor's light shines around the world, but it starts in each of us. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
The Lady Bears are red hot as they extended their nation-leading home win streak to 51 games on Tuesday with an 83-62 pummeling of Iowa State. On the surface, it seems as if the Lady Bears are at their peak, but the squad has had key contributors such as Nalissa Smith and Lauren Cox miss time with nagging injuries. Head coach Kim Mulkey believes there's still room for improvement as the squad gets back to full strength.
When you're full speed and everybody's healthy, that settles everybody down. I think right now we're just moving parts. Dee Dee's at the 4 1 minute, she's at the 3 1 minute. I go with the small line, we just have to keep doing that until we get everybody healthy.
The number 1 Bears basketball team continued their march toward a Big 12 championship on Wednesday as they dominated Iowa State 67-53 in Ames. The win extended the nation's second longest winning streak to 17 games, which is tied for the longest streak in program history. The Bears are looking to etch their name even further into program lore this Saturday, when they'll take on TCU at the Farrell Center in the hardwood edition of the Revivalry. The squad will look for a big game from Jared Butler, who despite being the team's leading scorer, has scored 10 points or less in each of the last 3 games. Tip-off is set for 3 p.m., and the game will be broadcast on ESPN2. The men's tennis squad continued their strong start to the season last weekend, beating Louisville in the finale of the ITA kickoff in Waco. The win solidified their 21st straight home victory and punched their ticket to the ITA National Team Indoor Championships. Before they can turn their attention toward nationals, the 5th-ranked Bears look to improve their undefeated record of 6-0 on Saturday, when they'll travel to Fayetteville to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks for their first road trip of the season. On the golf course, the Baylor men's squad finished second in the Arizona Intercollegiate, 9 shots back at tournament host and number 11 ranked Arizona. 4 different Bears earned top 15 finishes in the 84-man field, led by freshman Johnny Kiefer, who tied for 5th place, and Cooper Dossie, who tied for 7th place. With the finish, Dossie earned his 13th career top 10 finish, which is good for 11th in program history. Baylor now has more than a month to prepare for their next tournament, the Cabo Collegiate, which is set for the first week of March in Los Cabos, Mexico. Baseball and softball seasons are right around the corner, and both teams enter the year with high expectations. The softball squad is predicted to finish 5th in the Big 12 and will start their season against 23rd-ranked Auburn at the NFCA Leadoff Classic, which will take place February 7th through the 9th in Clearwater, Florida. As for Coach Steve Rodriguez's Bears, the 25th-ranked baseball team is predicted to finish 6th in the conference and will kick off their campaign at home against Nebraska on February 14th. The reigning national champion acrobatics and tumbling team kicks off what could be their 6th straight national title campaign on Saturday. They'll make the short trip south to Belton to take on Mary Hardin Baylor. The Bears are preseason number 1 in the nation, while UMHB is beginning their first season in program history on the cusp of the NCAA voting to make A&T an emerging collegiate sport. Baylor football's on-field staff has been solidified, and the first offseason under Dave Aranda is now underway. Aranda has most notably retained Joey McGuire, Sean Bell, and David Wetzel from Matt Rule's staff, while making big splashes with the hiring of Ron Roberts as defensive coordinator and Larry Fedora as offensive coordinator. Fedora is an especially crucial hire, as he spent 6 years at Baylor in the 90s and went on to serve as North Carolina's head coach from 2012 to 2018. In his 4th season, he led the Tar Heels to an 11-1 record and a top 10 ranking, amassing nearly 500 yards per game. With 3 number 1 teams, Baylor sports are in great shape.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to check us on YouTube, BaylorLariat.com, or the Waco City Channel.
We'll see you Friday for our next newscast. Have a great weekend, Baylor Nation.